So I went to college to play baseball. I had a successful career, but during college, I started having pains in my hips. They finally diagnosed me with avascular necrosis, which is where the blood flow stops to the hips and the hip bone dies. So with that, I had to stop my baseball career. During that time, my parents got divorced, and I really lost track of my identity.
The pain was getting so bad that he did finally go to a doctor, and they really wanted to hold off on any kind of hip replacement because of how young he was. That's when the addiction to the pain pills started.
I didn't know I was an addict at the time. Once that first prescription hit, it just, it became more and more and more. You add on the alcohol to that and the anguish inside where I didn't know my identity.
It really started to spiral out of control really fast. At that point, I felt like I was really protecting our children and keeping things covered up for them and making a lot of excuses why Daddy was sleeping all the time.
People on the outside didn't understand the pain I was going through. My own wife didn't know. It was a struggle to get out of bed. It was a struggle to go to the mailbox, let alone play with, an 8-year-old boy and a 2-year-old daughter. It was too much. I had to do something. It wasn't working anymore. So I did go ahead and get my first hip replacement when my daughter was 2. Things went okay for a while after that surgery until the other hip started really bothering me. So it started the cycle over again. More pain medicine, more lies, more stealing, more shame.
We were having a really big argument because pills were just missing and gone, and it was just out of control.
She was saying, "You're gonna lose your family," and I refused to see that. I thought I had control of the situation.
And when he walked out the door, that was the moment that I decided that it was time to take action, and I packed up all of our clothes, and the kids and I moved in with my mom.
Very difficult to deal with. I didn't know what to do, and again, went to drugs and alcohol as a result. I knew it was selfish. I knew it was, but I still did it. I couldn't stop myself. Even though it was creating more of a wedge in our relationship.
When things started really getting bad, I knew that I could come to Emmanuel for counsel. I would come to the church and just sit and lay down in the back of my car and just cry and pray and ask God for direction on what to do because I just felt so lost.
I got another month refill from the doctor, pain medicine, and that was gone in about a week and a half, and that's when I had to make a decision of rehab or surgery. I did call my wife at that point, Casey, and we talked through it, and she talked to the doctor, I talked to the doctor, and the decision was made to do the surgery before rehab.
I was reassuring him that this is it. You can start living your life again. You can be done with the pills. The surgery went great. His second hip replacement, it went great, and all was going really, really well. Then the next day, out of nowhere, Kevin started not feeling well, and he started running a fever. The fever just continued to climb. That's when I left the room and just started walking around the hospital and just was talking out loud, like, why is this happening, God? What are we doing wrong? Literally, as soon as I asked that question, the word trust flashed in my head. And it just came to me that I was putting all trust into myself and none of it into God.
The next morning, the fever just disappeared. There's no explanation. They don't know why it happened. They don't know why it went away. But, I got to go home that night. So, to us, it's a miracle.
Kevin and I drove home, and I got him settled in his bed, and I went to run some errands before our kids were brought home to see him. I just turned off the radio and decided that I needed to just thank God and have this big conversation with him. And while I was talking to him, it just felt so good and free. And literally, I did feel the Holy Spirit come over my entire body, so much so that I had to pull over. And all I did was say, thank you so much. Thank you so much, God, for letting me know it's all gonna be okay and showing me that you are so real. And it was like, you need to go home and your kids need to come home and you need to stay there with him and it's going to be okay. And at that time, I knew that it was time to move back in. There was a lot of yelling that was going on in our house before this, and I made the decision that with God's help, I was no longer gonna be yelling, and I was just gonna put all my trust and faith in God.
The doctors and Casey and I, we really worked on weaning me off the pain medicine, and we were able to do that successfully. Fantastic, right? Well, maybe not so much, because drinking just started escalating and other drugs became present. There was a day where I was driving and I was intoxicated. Something came over me that said, you're gonna die or you're gonna kill somebody if you don't stop right now. And I pulled over at that moment. And that's when I made the phone call to my best friend. He guided me to call Casey and reveal the truth to her, and that's what we did. With the guidance of my friends and her, and not knowing at the time, but it was God and the Holy Spirit led me to Fairbanks Drug and Alcohol Rehabilitation. And that's where I feel like I really turned a corner in my life. I feel like I have tools now how to approach conflict, how to approach negative feelings inside without going to a substance. I don't try to make it go away myself because I'm not in charge anymore. I was never in charge, but I know now that I'm not in charge. God is in charge.
When we started putting God first in our family is when our marriage became beyond amazing.
The relationship between my children and I has grown stronger than ever. With Casey, the honesty, the vulnerability has really strengthened our relationship. We're closer now than we've ever been. My relationship with God is so much stronger. In any situation, God is where I go first. I wanted this to be real and not a show. This is my commitment to my family and God, and that He's all powerful and He's leading the way.
We got here together at this moment as a family. We waited for one another to get baptized, and we all wanted to do it together.